Thank you, and good morning, everyone. We're going to talk about our agenda in a second, but we also have the slides in our handout here at forwardmomentum.net/PMO. So if you want a copy of the slides, they're available there. So anyway, today we're going to talk about the PMO. We're going to talk about the project portfolio management process and the intersection of the PMO and project portfolio management. We all understand sort of instinctively that strategic planning impacts the PMO. So you can imagine what happens if the execs are doing strategic planning at the top and there's no PMO to filter those types of objectives down to the projects. So that's basically the crux of the intersection of the PMO and the PPMP. Objectives today, we're going to talk about theory, so the different models and functions. We're going to look at the processes of the project portfolio management very briefly, and we're going to discuss the interactions of the PMO and the PPMP. The takeaway from the webinar should be to use the knowledge of the interaction of these two things to better align projects to strategic objectives. Okay, and study after study after study, doing this has a direct correlation to increasing the chances of project success. Okay, so that's the real takeaway there, the last bullet. Let's talk about the Project Management Office. Okay, Project Management Office is it says aligns work with strategic goals. That is true. They must be hooked into the execs to understand those strategic goals, support effective stakeholder communication. The PMO is increasingly being viewed as an essential component that develops talent and places a focus on realizing value. Again, it's an essential component to ensure the future success of the entire organization, since the projects are supporting the strategic objectives. You're going to hear that theme quite a bit today about projects supporting strategic objectives. So PMO models, and in a way this could go along with the level of project management maturity in the organization. The first one that we want to talk about is the supporting project management office. How a business, the drivers behind what type of project management office an organization might build depends on all kinds of things like organizational factors, what are the goals, what are the core competencies, what are the traditional strengths of the organization, and what's the corporate culture. Corporate culture has a lot to do with how the PMO functions in the organization. When a PMO is developed in line with that culture, the PMO can help not only the CIO but the other Cs in the office deliver strategic IT projects. Okay, we're not just going to do something for technology's sake. We're going to align those projects with organizational strategies. Okay, so the supporting PMO provides standard methodologies, a good cultural fit, procedures, templates, best practices, and training. So you don't see a lot of control, oversight, reporting there. Okay, so it's basically a guideline for the project managers. The next model is controlling, and as the name might indicate, they're going to establish procedures to ensure adherence to methodology. Okay, so on the one hand, the supporting PMO has the methodologies, but they're sort of there for the taking. If not, that's okay, do your own thing. But in the controlling PMO model, we want to make sure that our project managers adhere to those methodologies. Okay, we want consistency, we want repeatability. A controlling PMO works well in organizations where there's a desire to rein in the activity. Okay, not so much for bureaucracy's sake, but because we want to ensure that we do have a repeatable process that produces results. Okay, the requirements of the controlling PMO is that we have specific methodologies, we have specific templates, we expect you to use them, and we expect to pass regular reviews. So here we see this regular oversight happening, we see reporting back. Okay, so this The controlling model works well if there's a clear case that compliance with project management will bring improvement. Okay, the corporate culture supports the idea that compliance with these templates, these methodologies will bring improvement. And the PMO has sufficient executive support, and we're going to hear that a lot today. The PMO has sufficient executive support to stand behind the control. Okay, so if somebody, the corporate culture comes from the top, and if the execs aren't on board, then nobody's on board. Take a look at last model, which is directives. Okay, the directives actually takes over the project, and by that I mean that all the project managers live and work in the PMO. Okay, they're not part of the business unit. They're not part of IT. They may have those skills, but they report to the PMO. They adhere to the methodologies. They are assigned to the projects, and each of the project managers report back to the PMO to guarantee a high level of consistency. All right, so again, repeatability, consistency. The directive works well in larger organizations that matrix out support. Okay, so I have a project manager from the PMO. I've got a staff in the information technology business area, and I've got a staff in the business area under our managers. Okay, so we're putting together a matrix team to accomplish the objective of the project. So supporting, controlling, and directives. What functions? You want to put the whole? Okay. All right. So again, here's the notion of consistency. Okay, implements consistent and standardized. Conducts training and mentoring. No matter what model of PMO we have, certainly training and mentoring is part of that model. Maintains a centralized office from which project managers are loaned. Now that sounds like a directive office. Monitors and reports on active project. That's also a little bit more mature directive office. And researches and selects software tools and other resources. Well, where here do we see, we don't see the word strategic alignment, do we? Okay, so the PMO is functioning here in this world, but they're not really evolving, according to these bullets, they're not really evolving into organizational assessment, portfolio management, enterprise resource management. That's lacking here, if you notice. Okay, so we've got all these great things going on in the PMO, but we don't see anything about really strategic alignment here yet, okay, to be revealed later. The fit of the PMO to the organization. I think everybody's pretty much on board with these. Okay, we're going to introduce economies. Consistent repetition. That's a very big theme with the PMO. Consistent project management methodology, more project successes. Again, training and mentoring grows project management knowledge in the business unit. Okay, so the people in the PMO get it, right? They're project managers, their life is project management. But the business units need to understand, why do we need a project manager? Why do we need a PMO? Okay, and that's part of our job as project managers, to help people understand what our role is and how we can help them make their business projects successful. Talk about efficient resource allocation. Okay, usually the pet projects or the projects on fire get the resources, the money, the people, the equipment, whatever resource you can think of, and we need to understand from an organizational wide view where we really need our resources and how we can allocate them. Okay, so to add value now to the PMO, we can talk a little bit here about strategic alignment. Okay, we're sort of evolving from coaching and mentoring to enabling leaders. Okay, leaders who have a direct line or at least a dotted line to the executive to develop strategies